All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Elite 100. Great to see you guys here. We have a lot of exciting things happening. First thing I want to do is welcome our new member, Talia Bashani, to the group. I've been working with her one-on-one. She's a real estate lawyer. She has her own law firm and just a real estate juggernaut. She does some very, very big things in real estate. So welcome. It's a pleasure to have her in here. And I do want to remind you guys that we're having the Give Back Veterans event, which is this Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And it's a free, it's a free masterclass to really bring awareness to veterans on what goes on in the mind-body connection when they go through some traumatic experiences. So I think Val's going to put in the chat to share that. And we're actually working along with Jeremy Locke on that as well. He's going to present on the webinar, and I think it's going to be really, really good. It's a first time. Well, no, we did one before a couple of years ago, but I think this community is very deserving and that we can help them out a lot. So why don't we start with some wins? Who's got some wins they want to share to get the energy going for the week? What about Jeremy? What do you got going on? I didn't even recognize you. I saw you on. I'm like, who's this guy? Shaved your beard.
Sorry, Zoom panel ran away from me. Man, wins. I am doing a 12 by 12 by 12 challenge today. 12 push-ups every 12 minutes for 12 hours for 760 total.
What?
That's the win, bro. Love this group. What a community.
So if those age
Fox here.
Good to see you, brother. So that's great. You just did a century marathon as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. I'm in awe, man. The discipline it takes to do some of the stuff you're doing is just amazing. So
thanks, bro.
Who else has a win they want to share? I know Mr. Locke has some good wins going on.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, thanks all for having me on here. I got my schedule all moved around, so I got this thing blocked off. So I'm excited to be on these calls every week. My win. So I actually just got done doing my win is I block off 30 minutes every day to go swimming with my son and
oh, wow.
my wife. So that's why I'm a little wet. So we were just out there and we just got him this new little like inflatable thing, and he's learning how to kick his little legs. So that's probably my big win right there, is just spending time with Bear.
I love it. I love it. Well, before you jumped on, we were talking about the veterans event we're running this Thursday. So just looking for all hands on deck to share that on socials, and just reach out to a very, very deserving group of people. So I'm excited to be doing that with you, and just really helping out that group. So
yeah, I'm excited too, and I appreciate you doing that as well. There's so many of these vets that don't think they have anything to offer, or don't think that they can be successful entrepreneurs, and so it's awesome that Matrix is getting involved too, and getting their mind in the right spot so they can be effective and go out and utilize the skills they got to go help this world out. So super pumped about that.
100%, brother. Happy to be helping out. Mr. Dugan, would you mind reading the Mastermind principles to kick us off, brother?
Yeah, of course. Mastermind principles. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this blessed day and for allowing us to come together in spirit of harmony to mastermind for the benefit of all our mastermind members, our families, and for the good of mankind. We ask that you bless this mastermind group today and every day forward. We release ourselves to the mastermind because we are strong when we have others to help us. We believe that the combined intelligence of the mastermind create a wisdom far beyond our own. We understand that we will more easily create positive results in our lives when we are open to looking at ourselves, our challenges, and opportunities from another's point of view. We decide to release our desire totally in trust to the mastermind, and we are open to accepting new possibilities. We forgive ourselves for mistakes we've made. We also forgive others who have wronged us in the past, so we can move into the future with a clean slate. We ask God and our mastermind family to hear what we really want, our goals, our dreams, and our desires, and we hear our mastermind partners supporting us in our fulfillment. We accept, we know, relax, and accept, believing that the working power of the mastermind will respond to our every need. We're grateful knowing this is so. Dedication and covenant. We now have a covenant in which it is agreed that the mastermind shall supply us with an abundance of all things necessary to live in a success-filled and happy life. We dedicate ourselves to be of maximum service to the world and our fellow human beings, to live in a manner that will set the highest example for others to follow and to remain an open channel of God's will. We go forth with a spirit of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, brother. And as you guys know, one of the cornerstones or the pillars of the Elite 100 is mindset. It's awareness. It's looking at the mind-body connection to God. And really, I think it's what it sets us apart. So today we're going to dig deep into the 12 universal laws, just have an open mastermind. But I think we also are ready to switch the content. You know, we've been reading Power of the Subconscious Mind for a while now. And the next book that we had in the queue was Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I would love for you guys to grab that. Some of you might have read it. That was the next choice when we kind of surveyed you guys last time. I see Jeremy shaking his head. Have you read that book, bud? Yeah, I mean, you can't, it's one of
Yeah.
those books.
Yeah,
It's looking at
it's on my
everything from a
list.
different lens. Yeah. So it's looking at it from a different lens, the quantum field. And as always, and I always got to say this, you know, what we're studying here together is just meant for us to mastermind and ponder and form our own opinions and our own belief systems. So, you know, I like studying Dr. Joe Dispenza and kind of looking at it from the scientific geek point of view. So Valerie dropped that in the chat, and we'll start masterminding on that together. What else we got? Ivan, good to see you, bud. We're just announcing the veterans event on Thursday. So free event.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, just a mindset awareness event. So looking to get that out. All right, let me share the screen for the mastermind. Let's see. All right, can everybody see this here? The 12 universal laws. Oh, good. So when we talk about these, there's different varying opinions, right? And this is where we want to harvest the good and forgive the rest. Is, you know, Bob talks about 11 universal laws. There's supposedly 7 primary universal laws. And these 12 universal laws here, some of these are kind of secondary. And what I want to do is just go through them with you guys and just have an open mastermind about, you know, your belief system, your point of view, so we can dig a little deeper. Because, you know, in the physical world, there's laws, there's like gravity, there's magnetism, there's electricity, but there's all these other laws that we don't we certainly don't learn in school, right? Grade school, high school, college, and we're subject to these laws. So I think it's really important to dig deep in these. So the first one, I think, is the biggest one. It's the law of divine oneness, right? This is understanding that there's a universal entity, there's universal intelligence, there's God, we're all a part of this divine oneness, right? Whatever it is you believe in. From my point of view, when I look at something being infinite, well, you can't divide infinite, right? There's no subsets of infinity. So therefore we must be part of the whole. And I think this law here says that we are all one, we are all connected. Everything we do, say, think, and believe affects others and the universe around us. So I think many of you have all either heard of that or even say that we're all one. But what does that mean to you guys? Because to me, this is like that's a big statement. We are all one. What does that mean to you guys? Well, first of all, do you guys believe that? Is that something that you subscribe to? Jeremy, yeah? What does that mean for you? I'll say Locke and Newsom.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Well, I think, you know, I look at this 2 different ways, and myself, I'm a Christian, and so I'm gonna look on a more of like a spiritual aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe that we are all created by one God and in his likeness, and that God created everything. So if you look at it that direction, I think we're all connected in that way. But if you also look at it in a scientific method, which I'm very open to that as well too, we all consist and exist out of the same matter. And we all, everything that we have at some point came from something that came out of a star, you know. And I don't know how God created everything for all of us, but we are literally all connected. And there, you know, we talk about butterfly effects. You talk about things that you do. If you're not intentional with your actions in your life, it will affect people around you, and you never really know who. Especially now that I have a son and I have somewhat of a following, you never know what your actions are doing and to people that are looking up to you or watching what you're doing. So we have an inherent responsibility to be intentional about the way that we live our lives, because whether we intend to or not, we can have a very drastic effect on those people around us.
Amen and well said. Yeah, it's a very good representation of that. And so I'm kind of like you. Obviously I believe in God, and from a spiritual point of view, we are spirit, we're expressing through a body. But I look at the scientific side of it too, because it just causes me to think differently. And that's this next book that we're studying is the same thing, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural. He dives deep into the science side, even though he's directly, tapping into source, tapping into God. So I think this is a big, bold statement. And honestly, guys, I think this is what separates the Elite 100 from most other masterminds, where we're studying and pondering things like God and the universe and creation and all of us being one. But it's interesting though, right? Because it's like, all the stuff that goes on around the world, some of the horrible things that are going on around the world is, it can be tough to process. It can be it's like, how is that possible, right? Like everybody here, we're all moving through life with, philanthropic give back. Like everybody here is on the same page. And then you have other parts of the world that are just in complete, well, even here in the United States, right? Complete chaos. So, it's an interesting concept. We are all one. The law of vibration is something we study heavily, right? Everything in the universe, including thoughts, are made up of energy. Everything vibrates at different frequencies. We emit a vibration. To materialize something on Earth, you must first match the vibration of what you want. So, Ara, I was thinking of like the charity that you're building and looking to really, really help out Armenia, right, at a big level. Now, that's, relatively speaking, that's a large goal, right, relative to most human beings thinking. What is that? How does that come into play? You must first match the vibration of what you want in order to get that charity to come together.
To me, it feels like when you have to walk in somebody's shoes before you feel or who can experience their pain. So I've done that back in 1990, whatever, 3, when I left Boston to go to California because there was no jobs here in Boston. I stayed spent a week just eating bread and water, just so that I can understand what it means to, and I lost weight, to see what it means to be hungry on purpose, so that I will never do that again, and make sure that others don't do it again. Don't go through that. So I know the feeling. I know I can live their lives. That's what it means to me, making sure that I'm in the same vibration as they are, so I can help it the most possible way, the biggest possible way.
That's a really interesting point of view, and I think that could happen, especially in this group, right? Our lives get so big, and that we might forget, like, either our roots or what we've gone through or what other people are going through. Especially when it comes to like charities, I think about obviously Jeremy Locke and Era Recovery. He's been through it. Like, he's literally lived it, breathes it. Still so a perfect leader for that type of movement, right? What about on the other side of that though, Ara? Like somebody creating that kind of an organization. It's pulling together the resources, the mechanisms, things of that nature.
I mean, who am I to change the whole country? But in my mindset, it's not going to be an impossible task, of course, with the help of this group and others. But I believe the efforts will not go unfulfilled. It's visioning. I've envisioned that we are going to be able to make a huge change in a whole entire country. And as I said many times before, once we get that done, we're going to copy it for other countries or other causes over and over again.
No, I love that. And it's, I know Ivan's done a lot of work in that area, specifically about building charities where somebody can actually donate, but also invest, get a return. The investment grows, supports the charity. So for decades now, most charities, it's just tax write-off. They use the money and then it's gone. It's used, right? So there's this continuing churn of always needing new investors. And I just want to fill everybody on the concept. The concept here is to evolve charitable, charities, right? So that when people invest, the money can grow, and they might even get a return, but then the charity is running off of the profits and distributions and growing the capital. So that's what Ara and some other people are working on. And I know in this group we can pull this off. I know we have the people and the manpower and the mind power and the woman power to put structures like this together. And like Ara said, once we crack the code on that, then we can just go from charity to charity to charity. So I really appreciate what you're doing, leading the charge there, bud. The law of action. So this is some of these are primary. Law of vibration is a primary law, right? Like the law of attraction responds to vibration. So attraction is the secondary law, but the law of vibration is a primary law. The law of action is a law that you don't see too often. It's really just talking about, we must take action to manifest things on earth. There's a physical component to what we're doing. And every action we take creates a result. So to me, the law of action is almost like the law of cause and effect, right? It's kind of a secondary law. Says we must engage in actions that support our thoughts, dreams, emotions, and words. And I think this is what Jeremy was talking about, is really embodying what you're looking to lead and being a good servant leader and taking the actions of somebody that's worthy of what you're representing. But Eric, what does this mean to you? The law of action. We must engage in actions that support our thoughts, dreams, emotions, and words.
I would say that to act with definite purpose.
Well, I think the reason I think of you is because when you built your company, I mean, you started off in the trenches, right? You did all the things. You've literally done every area of electrical, alarm, commercial, residential, with physical tools in hand, right?
I did.
And I know Scott and Jeff, same thing, right? It's like blood, sweat, tears, in the trenches, trades, and then build. So when I think of the law of action, I think of guys like you that have built from the ground up and lead by example. The law of correspondence. This one here is something I've not studied, but when I pull up the 12 laws that came up, it says our outer world is a mere reflection of our inner world. It corresponds with our dominant pattern of thinking. The state of our life is nothing more than a reflection or a mirror of the state of our mind. If you want to change your life, change your thoughts. So to me, this is, again, it seems a little bit like cause and effect, talking about corresponding, right? But the thing that comes to me is when we look in the mirror, look at our body. Right? Our body is just a reflection of years of thoughts. Right? Thoughts become things. And I'm thinking of Mr. Newsom up there running century marathons. And did you say 12 push-ups every 12 minutes?
Yes, sir.
You're about to have to do something, huh?
Yes, sir. 4 minutes.
That's crazy.
Hey, Jeremy, can you do a few for me too, please, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. But it's a good example. It's a really good example, right?
I think it's the one of action for sure. I mean, right, like definite the purpose, but massive action. I mean, we all have the time and the capacity to do anything that we want. Most of us are just generally we feel there's some fear of something that's holding us back, and whatever that fear might be, it's usually invalid.
That's a good point. A lot of fears are projections of what we think will happen, but mostly never does. And I forget the percentages, but Bob did an analysis on this and he said it's something like 70-80% of things we worry about never happen.
Wow.
It was like, holy cow, it's a big number. And then there was like 20% of things that we worry about aren't important. it's just, they're not really relevant. And it's only like 6% of things that we worry about are really, we should have our attention on. So there's all this thought energy that's going towards mostly things that won't happen, and worrying and doubting, right? I don't think so much in this group. You guys wouldn't be here if that was the case, but we certainly see it in other areas for sure. The law of cause and effect. So this is a primary law: energy out, energy back, right? And I always talk about like words are sound and sound is energy. And it's like Mr. Locke was saying about, we have our actions produce reactions, right? That's what it says here. Every action produces a reaction. Even our thoughts cause an effect. Each action produces an effect upon an equal portion. Large action, large effect. Right? So cause and effect. Everything we do, every thought. Tyler, do you have a question, or go ahead? Oh, I thought you did. Okay. Well, let me ask you about this, since I thought you raised your hand. How does the law of cause and effect show up for you, or what does that mean for you in your daily life?
Cause and effect, it's definitely, for me, I have to be very diplomatic in my practice. So for me, it's all about how I approach problem solving and solutions. Because if you go into something with aggression or with negativity, that's what you're going to get back. So I do a lot of negotiation. I always am negotiating with other attorneys. And so I think the cause and effect for me is, if I approach it more in a diplomatic way, where the end result is trying to get what I want at the end of the day, you have to be proactive and diplomatic in your approach, because otherwise, if you just go in with fire, you're going to get fire.
That's a really, really good example. A lot of the people here, there's negotiations, business negotiations, mergers, acquisitions. And it's a really good point, because when we throw gasoline on a fire, like, the result we're going to get is probably going to be negative for us. Right? So if we're in a reactive state, you always got to look at the end result. And one of my favorite books is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And we've all gone through this. I promise I have, you have, and we're all raising our level of awareness. Because when we're working with another human being, negotiating whatever, it could be a job, if they're working for you, it could be a contract, could be a sale. We always want to look at, like, do I want to be right, or is there a certain outcome that I want? And they can be two totally different things. And in that book, it's not suggesting that you're a punching bag and just saying I'm wrong all the time. But it's things like, I could be wrong, but have you ever thought about this, right? It's letting people know, it's like, you're not demanding that they see your way, but you want to get to a resolution. You want to get to the same frequency. So I think that's really good, Talia, about understanding, like, what the bigger picture is at all times, and that no matter what, you can't escape these laws is the other thing. We can't escape the energy out, energy back thing. And cause and effect, I think, goes along hand in hand with attraction as well. The law of compensation. So this is another one of like a secondary law, kind of like a pseudo law, right? But it is also in the Bible, right? Reap what you sow. It says the universe is always responding to the energy that we put out. With every action, thought, and emotion, we are creating an equal measure of return. We reap what we have sown. The law of compensation is blessings and abundance rewarded to us in the form of gifts, money, inheritances, friendships, and opportunities. I like to add to this, though. It's also health and love and happiness, right? One thing that I think confuses people, looks like Jeremy's gonna do some push-ups. One thing, you should do them on camera. One thing I think confuses people, especially when they start to donate, this confused me. When I was first getting into this material and working with Bob, I'm like, oh, if I donate money, I'll get money back. And I thought that was like a good thing. Oh, donate money, get money back. And I've always been very generous, especially with friends and family and stuff like that. But I didn't really understand that this concept here. We can donate money our entire life and not receive money back for that exchange. But you might have a healthy body, a loving marriage, a thriving business. Right. So as I study more and more, you find that it's not like equals like, or if you may give a lot of love and then get money back, or you might give a lot of your time and energy and then be healthy. Does that make sense? So, Blake, I'd be curious as your kind of opinion on this law of compensation, and things like even things like tithing. And I know in Access you guys do a lot of or you promote a lot of charities. That's actually how we met Jeremy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and prior to that, we'd actually had the co-founder of Kiva, which did the micro loans. For us, it's just sort of the part of my dad's three-pronged sort of happiness triangle or life meaning triangle is make money, do good, have fun. And I don't know if it's partly the trailer park upbringing that he came from, but make money became the primary one, primary in the sense that it has to happen first. And a lot of people push back on that, thinking that do good has got to be the focal point of, if somebody's going to believe in those three things, do good kind of has to be the top priority. But making money is where it enables those other three things. The more money you make, the more good you can do, the more fun you can have, and it's just it's sort of a self-perpetuating cycle. So I believe pretty strongly in that, and a little caught off guard when you asked me to share, but I did have something to say about the prior law,
Sure.
which it triggered a thought related to. I'm sure a lot of you guys have read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's a part, I think, early on within the first 100 pages where Stephen Covey is telling a story where he's sitting on a subway or a train or something like that next to a guy who's got multiple kids who are just unruly, like just creating chaos and loud, and everybody else on the train is kind of looking askance at what's going on. And Stephen Covey finally, in the most diplomatic way he can, says, hey man, can you get your kids under control? And the guy said, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't even really notice. My wife died this morning and we're all having a real hard time with it. And it's this idea of seek to understand before seeking understanding. Try to understand where that person's coming from before you ask them to understand where you're coming from. So jumping around a little bit, but hopefully that was helpful.
No, that's amazing. This is what like I said, if you guys want to interject, just raise your hands or just blurt out on any of these things. But that's so true, right? We can get so caught up in our own day to day that we're not even in an understanding state of what's going on with the people we interact with. That's really, really easy to do. And that's such a vivid example, obviously, of taking time to put ourselves in other people's shoes. And that reminds me of lesson 11 in Thinking in Results, which is the impression of increase, where you're really trying to leave everybody better off than you found them. And then the lesson 10, when it says treat everybody, we went through this last night actually, Earl Nightingale, treat everybody like they are the most important person in the world. It's like, holy cow. It's a great way to think, and I think it's a great thing to practice and to try to get better at. So I appreciate that. Bob had a version of the law of, Ara, go ahead.
Yeah, especially when you're talking to them. If you can't look at them in the eye, don't bother talking to them. Just walk away. Or someone's not looking in your eye or paying attention to you, looking at the phone, looking at this, just done. I've become very I'm probably the oldest one here in this group today. I've become very adamant about this. My kids, I walk away from them when they don't pay attention to me 100%.
I love that point of view, because with phones and emails and everything, I mean, we've gotten into this crazy, it's strange with all the things going on and AI popping off. I mean, there's just so much coming at us. And you guys are if you haven't read Becoming Supernatural, you're going to love it, because there's, it talks about energy pull and the hundreds of things on a daily basis that are pulling energy from us if we let it. And absolutely, the phone, especially with younger generations, is such a distracting. Go to a restaurant these days, 5 people at a table, 4 of them, maybe 5 are on their phones, right? And we're all guilty of this, right? But it's being aware. The first step in all this stuff is awareness, and then implementing habits that pull you back to the human, right? And that's really what it is. We've become so distracted, it's crazy, and we're forgetting to, especially with our families, is just be present and be human. And I've been guilty of this too. It's when you're running businesses and doing all the things, it can It can be tough to not be distracted by that stuff. So one of the things I do is I turn all my buzzers and bells and whistles off. I don't have audible tones for for my phone, and I turn my email off usually too, because it just pulls you all around. But Bob talks about the law of compensation in a very unique way. He added to it, he said there's 3 parts to it. It's the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and how easily you're replaced. So I'm looking at Mr. Locke right here, right? The need for what you do is epic, right? I mean, it's just epic. Your ability to do it is one of the best operators in the world doing this, I would argue. And then how easily you're replaced, well, in your community, you'd be very, very difficult to replace, right? So the law of compensation states on those 3 things that you're going to grow and be successful because of those 3 metrics. I mean, everybody here, you're all doing things. Some of you in construction, building businesses, providing families, software. Everybody here has something that the world needs, right? So we don't really have to worry about the first one, the need for what you do. It's the second one, right? The second one is our ability to do the thing. The more we work on ourselves and the more we scale our ability to be a master of what we're doing, then the more the rest of it takes care of itself, right? And then how easily you're replaced. I look at Bob Proctor, when he built just an amazing global company. He was the best in the world, in my opinion, at what he did. And the evidence would say that he was almost irreplaceable. They don't have anybody at PGI that can step in and fill his shoes. They had to restructure the company. It looks like he was literally irreplaceable. So that's why they were doing, over 100 million a year before he passed, because the service to many leads to greatness. And Bob didn't really care about money. I spent a lot of time with him, and it was a game to him. It was a reflection of services rendered. But he hadn't really needed money in like 6 decades. He had been, wealthy and made plenty, and he didn't really care to spend and do things. He had a whole closet full of $2,000 to $10,000 suits. He loved his suits, but he didn't have the multiple homes and Ferraris and all that stuff. So law of compensation, I think there's a good takeaway for us to look at that second thing. It's like our ability to do the thing that we're doing. The law of attraction. So this is obviously a big one in the matrix and in general. A lot of people are confused by what the law of attraction is. So if you can substitute attraction for magnetism, it makes more sense. That's what it really is. It's the law of magnetism. Human beings, we are electromagnets, right? Electro in the conscious, magnetic in the subconscious. And we're going to get more into that in Joe Dispenza's book, sort of the physiology, the metaphysics. So we're magnets, we're batteries, right? We're attracting, we're running around, colliding with each other, and we have our missions, and we pull people in, and all this thought energy, 7.5 to 8 billion people in the world projecting thought energy. It's a lot, right? And it says here, like energies attract like energies. We create things, events, and people that come into our lives. Our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions produce energies, which in turn attract like energies. Negative energies attract negative energies, and positive energies attract positive energies. So the thing I really want to dig into here is understanding that attraction responds to vibration. So Mr. Dugan, what does that mean to you when I say that? Attraction responds to vibration.
In going through a lot of these universal laws, I'm trying to simplify it, I guess, in my mind, of how does it all interconnect. And attraction is, almost like a sense of comfort. It's like finding your tribe. It's finding people who are on the same wavelength with you, which directly goes in conjunction with the vibrations. So, once again, they all seem to be interconnected in some form or another, where the energy you put out is also what the energy that you attract. The energy you create is what you're compensated with. So, very often, you'll start running in circles that are of people with like a similar mindset of where your mind is developed into. And, for instance, our group, I think, is lined with this spirituality, but also impact driven. And hence, we're talking about more of the spiritual component. So that's where my headspace is at. I'm just trying to understand like how I can take this with me on a regular basis, but in a simple way, carrying it forward, to attract bigger things, but also those who are, on the same wave, like the mission that I'm trying to create.
Well, that's part of what we're doing here too, right? So if attraction responds to vibration and we can control our vibration, that's the big message here, right? And thinking in the results and the matrix and the elite 100, it doesn't matter what group we're in, we're understanding that basic concept that human beings can learn to control or amplify their vibration, their thoughts, feelings, and actions. We can do it physically, we can do it intellectually, and we can do it spiritually. And I'll give you guys a good example. Probably most of you, and correct me if I'm wrong, is anybody here hanging out with all the same people they hung out with in high school?
Not exclusively, but I still am close with a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah, not exclusively, but
So most people that really go after big goals, they end up, and it's not on purpose, it just is. And the people we geographically grow up with is not really an attraction. It's a geographical,
Convenience.
can be a convenience, but we all have things in common with everybody, right? So you go through grade school, high school, and you're around the same humans. We all have some similar tendencies. So it's easy to kind of look for the good, and next thing you know, we're making friends. But it's not like we really thought about it back when we were 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 15 years old. Now, like this group here, we are all like-minded, high frequency, high energy, philanthropic, give back, connected to God. Like there's a reason we're all here. This is a good example of attraction over time. But the one thing I want everybody to kind of take away from this is the vibrational part of it, right? The reason the two magnets stick is because they're on similar frequencies. The electrons are lined up and the vibration is on a similar frequency. If those frequencies change or you get demagnetized, that's what happens. It's no longer in the same frequency. And if you turn them around, they repel each other, right? So attraction and repulsion. So human beings can do this too. We can have a great goal and have a great mindset and be doing all the things and still self-sabotage because of this vibration and attraction concept. And we might not know why, right? There's another part to this too, like, things like COVID, things that are happening overseas. There's global things and there's things that come into our world that I don't feel like we're in control of. And this is where I like to open up to the Mastermind group. Nelson, what do you feel about that? I'm sure everybody here has had things happen. It's like, man, I didn't attract that. Or how did I attract that, right? Have you ever had anything like that? And what is your kind of point of view on that?
I can't think of anything where it's how did I attract it, but I see it clearly now. I have the awareness now where the more thought you put into something positive or negative, the more thought you put into it, you're going to attract it. Those energy waves go out into the universe. The law of magnetism comes in, and you just bring in what you're really whatever you're focusing your energy on, that energy is magnetic.
What are some of the things or habits or rituals that you do to kind of keep on a high vibe?
So, I mean, I work out every day. I read, I listen to podcasts. In fact, this morning I was listening to a podcast. Andy Frisella was on there. He said something that really, really hit me right between the eyes. And I put a note. He said, become hyper aware of the internal dialogue that offers you, and I'm paraphrasing. He says, become hyper aware of the internal dialogue that offers you excuses to make the decisions you inherently know are not in your best interest. Right. And we all have it, right? I'm going to eat this cake because I deserve it. I've been working out hard. I'm going to eat these Oreos because I've been working my ass off. Right. Or I'm going to go party and drink. And you know what I mean? I don't do it that often anymore. Right. If the waitress offers you a drink, just say no. You don't have to say yes. So becoming consciously and hyper aware of those moments where you have that inner dialogue telling you it's okay to do that, and then conquering it.
That's a really good example. And it's one thing, but yeah, if you like, oh, I'm not drinking anymore, and then something comes up and then you crack, right? That's a really good, becoming hyper aware. It's a really good example. I love that. Does anybody have any other questions? Because I think attraction and magnetism are the biggest things that a lot of people don't grasp. And when you think about a magnet, if you have two magnets, they stick, but most people can't explain why they stick. It's one of God's laws, magnetism, attraction. And then if you just look at yourself like a magnet, all we need to do is focus on the vibration that we're in on a consistent basis, morning, noon, and night, right? Doing things physically, spiritually, intellectually that bring that vibration up.
Hey, Brian, I have a very practical thing that I do that I found very, very valuable. Is to just ask myself, what's the best this could mean? What's the best this could mean? So fear asks, what's the worst this could mean?
Yeah.
You know, he's that way, or I knew it, whatever the negative fear is. Fear asks the question, what's the worst this could mean? And where focus goes, energy flows. What you look for, you find, you feel, what you feel, you attract. And I like your interpretation of that, and I want to hear your articulation of that because it's a little bit different. And I remember liking it, Brian. On the other side, faith asks the question, what's the best this could mean? So I'll give you a practical example. Last night, transparently, like my wife and I, we have a beautiful relationship. We grew up from elementary school together. She finally paid me attention in 9th grade, and I'm just super grateful. We have a beautiful relationship. However, last night, as any normal couples do, we had a difference of opinion, and she was defensive, and I was like, okay, what's the best this could mean? The best this could mean is she's really smart, and she has really good reasons for doing what she does. And actually, even though it drove me a little crazy last night, the best that it could mean, it's indicative of what I love about her personality. She is so brilliant, so smart, and she was smart enough to come around, and we had a wonderful mutual apology, and we were totally fine. But that's when you ask the question, what's the best this could mean? You come up with things that you otherwise wouldn't have seen, and then you attract more of what you're looking for. So ask yourself the question, what's the best this could mean, when you're prompted to ask about the best.
I am actually writing that down. I love that. It's that would be like a great mantra to get yourself conditioned to just always be asking that, like everywhere, all the time, right? I love that. And yeah, I mean, we've all been there, right? It's so easy to just let our ego come into play, like having to be right. Things go sideways quick when you have two people needing to be right versus getting in each other's shoes, understanding each other's point of view, all the things. So I love that. I just wrote that down. The law of perpetual transmutation of energies. That's a mouthful. So this is one of the primary laws, like one of the primary 7. This law states that everything's in motion, from energy to form and back to energy. I was on a training the other night. I said, this building I'm in won't be here in 100,000 years. None of this, right? And just think about everything that you guys are experiencing right now. It will not be there at some point, 1,000,000 years, right? It just won't. It's going to go back to the energy state, including us. So we have this, 50, 60, 70 to 100, whatever year experience. But we're going to go back to the energy state, the spiritual state as well. So when we start to understand this, and we're probably all at different levels of awareness. I play with this thought that there's no such thing as death. There's transmutation of energy, which we know, right? We see in quantum mechanics, we see energy turn into matter and then back to energy. We've literally witnessed this, and we see it with particles and all the stuff they're doing. It's the atomic age, right? So human beings are no different. And Bob used to say very lightly, you moved into your body when you're born and you move out at some point. But that's just a transmutation of energy. So this is what I really want to get you guys' thoughts on. Chris, what do you think about this law? Perpetual things are always in a transmutation state. There's no steady state, right?
So I think a lot. I mean, I think a lot about this, honestly.
This is a big one for me too. One of the biggest.
I mean, first of all, I think it's how the universe was created. was because things naturally wanted to expand. And I think ultimately they will probably contract unless they keep expanding. It's consistent with Newtonian physics, that energy is neither created nor destroyed. So any of the universal laws that tie in with the things we were taught in school, not that they're more trustworthy, but they almost like they're being backed up from another angle. So I think that's super interesting too. Like there's no way you can deny. You can't deny that energy is neither created nor destroyed. I believe this is, it's proof for some kind of afterlife. I do believe that, and consistent with kind of everything we study, or maybe other books I've read too, that we're all part of something, which is consistent with that first law of oneness. And we'll turn to that something. At least that is kind of what that is what I truly believe. So I'm sure there's other nuances to it. It really kind of ties in with everything. It ties in with the seasons too. It ties in with seasonality and the ups and the downs and all that as well.
Yeah, I know personally when Bob passed, he was excited for the next phase of his journey. There was elements obviously that he was going to, physically miss people, but he was not afraid like one bit. He's so studied, he knows, right? And even when you talk about like a life transition, it's just another part of the journey, right?
And what I just noticed is number 8, none of that says what I just said. So either I'm wrong, or my interpretation is much deeper than the text under that title.
Oh, it's much deeper, and that's what I was hoping here. Yeah, no, this is very surface level. That's why, yeah, I like to get much deeper. But it is interesting, right? It is interesting and so the idea, and I have not studied this, right? The idea of like a reincarnation or going through multiple versions of this, to me, could make sense. I just haven't studied enough, but we do know, we've seen this, right? We see energy going to matter and back to energy. We see it in nature. Like I said, this building won't be here. It'll turn to no thing again and go back to the energy state. So when we say something matters, what are we saying? We recognize it in the physical state. That's what that is. Oh, this matters to me. It's like, oh, it's physical. It's here, right? So this is a deep one, I think. And so I have an opinion about the creation of the universe, right? And even in the Bible, it talks about in the beginning, all there was the Word. There was just God. There was no physical anything, right? And then we have this Big Bang theory. But that theory starts with a big ball of something, which makes no sense, right? You don't start with a phone. You start with the thought energy back behind it, and then you manipulate energy into form through conscious, consistent thought, and then physical effort and extracting the materials from the earth and blah blah blah. So my opinion is that some point God decided to express physically. That's what I believe we are. And now God being infinite and all-powerful, or universal intelligence, whatever you believe was first here before matter, must have decided that it wanted to feel and express. That's my opinion. Again, now that entity has the power for instant manifestations, and it can turn energy into form just like we can, right? We can turn energy into form. We do it all the time. You build a house, you have a baby. Like, we're doing this, but we take it for granted. When you order a pizza, you're doing the same thing. Your thought energy creates a pizza, right? So there is no such thing as big or small. There's just relativity. And so that's my belief, but I know we may get pushed back on that one. Ara?
You have no idea how many hours I've wasted on my life arguing with few PhDs in my family that have physics PhDs, and they keep on insisting that Big Bang was the beginning. I wish they could just listen to you right now and others, but they all believe that it just happened. Okay, well, how did it just happen?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Explain that to me, and then maybe I'll believe it. But up to that point, I'm still sticking with the Bible.
Yeah, a million percent. It all makes sense when we look about it that way: spirit, intellect, and body. Right. And so time and space only exist together. They don't exist in spirit. Those two concepts, you can't have time without something spatial going through time, like a body, a human, or a phone. So those things, they don't exist independently. So in the beginning, there was no time or space either. Again, according to my humble opinion, there was just God, universal intelligence, right? Cosmic energy, whatever you want to call it. And then it absolutely makes sense that that entity turned a bunch of energy into matter instantly. That makes total sense to me. And then continued to perpetuate with an ever expanding explosion, right? I forget what they say, the universe is expanding at like 1,000 miles a minute or something. And this is all measurable, right? So this is the science part of it. So now this is a big one for me, the transmutation of energy. So anyway, I hope you guys like when we get into the content part. This is some of the stuff that I like, is to really get into awareness and talking about this stuff. And again, harvest the good and forgive the rest. Everything we're saying is my opinion based on study over time. I love the different points of view, and I love and appreciate all of you too for interjecting with your points of view. But these laws that we're talking about, they impact us. There's no denying that. So I think it's important to build your own belief system and learn to work with them, because I think that's how things get easier and easier over time. And Bob was a really, really good example of that. So just a couple of reminders. We're moving into Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural. So for me, it's like I always get the Audible and the book. And I know Michael Shine's been doing a lot of work with Joe Dispenza, retreats and 7-day masterminds and meditations and things like that. So I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it, and we can start reading that together, and then we'll start masterminding that content. The only other last thing, guys, is if you could support us, Jeremy and I, with the Thursday night veterans event. There's links everywhere. I'm sure you guys are seeing them in your emails and in the chats. If you want to share that, if you know a veteran, it's going to be a give back. It's free, and I think we're just gonna turn some people onto hope. That's my sincere wish, to get them to believe that you're not doomed for life. If we can flip them to hope, then they'll start to move in the direction, seek guidance, seek community, seek tribe, and that's my sincere wish. So if you know any veterans or any veterans groups, my team's doing a great job of getting all the links out to you guys. I'm sure you've seen it. So, all right. So any questions or comments before we wrap up? All right. Well, have a great week. I love and appreciate you all, and God bless. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye, everyone. Have a great week.
Have a great week.
Oh, the
Bye.
fireworks. Hey, how'd you get that? Did you do that
Trey,
on
he's got
purpose?
phew.
While he's driving too.
So dangerous.
Well, his car's driving. He's not driving.
Oh, actually, yeah. Bye, guys.
Isn't that nuts?
Hey,
See you guys.
Hey, Trey, stop showing up, okay? Stop it.
See ya.
Bye,
Take care,
guys.
everybody.